بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذا قضى القاضي للولد والوالدين وذوي الأرحام بالنفقة فمدت مدة سقطت. If the Qazi decides for the children and for the parents and for the relatives what nafqa and a period elapsed, then it will drop off. In other words, somehow they came by. You understand? They managed to live without the nafqa and he didn't pay for that, then that previous will drop off. لأن نفقة هؤلاء تجب كفاية للحاجة, because the nafqa of these people, right, the parents and the relatives, has become wajib to suffice their need. حتى لا تجب مع اليسار. So much so that it doesn't become wajib when these people have their own money. When they reach, parents are rich, then they pay from their own money. Children are rich, actually they're supposed to pay from their own money, right? فقد حصلت بمضي المدة, and thus independence has been achieved with the or this need has been achieved, right? The fulfillment of the need has been achieved with the elapsing of the time. So somehow they got by. They might have struggled, but somehow they got by, and therefore the past nafka is not wajib. باختلاف نفقة الزوجة إذا قضى بها القاضي. Contrary to the nafka of the wife now, when the qadi decides what is. So the qadi said you have to give your wife every month 5,000. Then you didn't pay for a few months, that still has to be paid. You understand it? لأنها تجب مع يسارها, because that nafka is wajib despite the fact that she's rich, right? فلا تسقط بحصول الاستغناء فيما مضى. So it will not drop off with the achieving of independence of that which passed. You understand it? So even though she managed to get by somehow, or she used her own money the last few months, the Qazi decided you must still pay her what you owe her. قال إلا أن يأذن القاضي بالاستدانة عليه. So the Qazi, right, except if the Qazi gives permission to take credit on his name. In other words, now the children and the parents and the relatives, if the Qazi gave him permission to take credit on his name, then that nafka won't drop off. لأن القاضي له ولاية عامة, because a Qazi has this general authority. فصار إذنه كأمر الغائب. So him giving permission is like the command of the absent person. So it's as though the absent person now, uh, though the absent person is actually giving permission. فَيَصِيرُ دَيْنًا فِي ذِمَّتِهِ. Right? So this will become a debt in the responsibility of that absent husband or that absent person, right? فَلَا يَسْقُطُ بِمُضِيِّ الْمُدَّةِ, and that debt will not drop away with the elapsing of the time. He'll have to pay for it when he's back, or even if he was there. You understand it? فصل. وعلى المولى أن ينفق على أمته وعبده, and is binding upon the master to spend upon his female slave and his male slave. لقول الإسلام في المماليك إنهم إخوانكم جعلهم الله تعالى تحت أيديكم. Indeed, they are your due to Nabi Karim some statement in regards to the slaves. Indeed, they are your brothers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put them beneath your hands. أطعموهم مما تأكلون وألبسوهم مما تلبسون ولا تعذبوا عباد الله. Feed them from that which you eat and clothe them from that which you wear, and do not punish the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فإن امتنع وكان لهما كسب اكتسبا وأنفقا. And if he doesn't, he holds back from spending upon his slave boys and slave girls, and they have the ability to earn. These slave boys and slave girls, they will earn and spend on themselves. لأن فيه نظرا للجانبين, because in doing that now, it's looking out for both sides, right? حتى يبقى المملوك حيا. So much so that the slave will remain alive now because he went out to earn and he could eat, right? ويبقى فيه ملك المالك, and the ownership of the owner will still remain in him by allowing him to go earn. But now if you say you're not spending and you're not allowing them to earn, then what's going to happen? Both will lose their rights. Neither will he survive, and you're going to lose your ownership. You understand? وإن لم يكن لهما كسب بأن كان عبدا زمنا أو جارية لا يواجر مثلها أجبر المولى على بيع. And if they are not able to earn in this way, that the slave is chronically ill, or the girl is of such a nature where her likeness cannot be hired out, then the master will be forced to sell them. We don't know, sell them, right? لأنهما من أهل الاستحقاق, because the slave boy and slave girl are from those people who deserve nafka. They're supposed to get nafka. وفي البيع إيفاء حقهما, and by selling them, you will be fulfilling their rights. وإبقاء حق المولى بالخلف, and you will make remain the right of the master to a substitute, which is the money. You understand it? So when he sells them now, then the next master will spend on them. He doesn't want to spend on them, so he sells them. The next master will see to their food, etc. And at the same time, he won't lose out because he'll have not the slaves now, but he'll have the money by him. بخلاف نفقة الزوجة, contrary to the nafka of the wife, لأنها تصير دينا, because it becomes a debt. فكان تأخيرا على ما ذكرنا, so it will just be delayed upon that which we have mentioned. Contrary to the nafka of the zawja now. In other words, what do you mean here, contrary to the nafka of the zawja? Right. He won't be forced to give a talaq quickly. So now, see, he doesn't want to spend on the slave boys and girls. What we told him, you have to sell them, right? Now, in the case of his wife now, he's not spending on her. Now, we won't tell him immediately, you must give talaq. Like how we said, you must sell. We won't tell him, he must give talaq, right? The reason being, because the nafka of the zawja will become a debt, and it will be delayed upon that which we mentioned. وَنَفْقَةُ الْمَمْلُوكِ لَا تَصِيرُ دَيْنًا, and the nafka of the slaves will not become a debt. فَكَانَ إِبْطَالًا, so this will be cancelling their right. So there's a difference between the two. If he's not spending on the slave, then he'll be told to sell them quickly. Because if you're not spending on them, then you are cancelling their right. Whereas when you're not spending on the wife, he won't be told to give her talaq immediately. Because all it will be done is that she'll get her nafka at the later stage. She'll get her nafka at the later stage. So her right will just be delayed. You understand it? وبخلاف سائر الحيوانات, and contrary to all other animals, لأنها ليست من أهل الاستحقاق, because these animals are not from the, somebody who deserves. They are not human. They've got the rights, yes, but they're not human where they can claim a right. You understand it? فلا يجبر على نفقتها, so the Malik will not be forced to spend on his animals. He will not be forced to spend on إلا أنه يؤمر به فيما بينه وبين الله تعالى. This is in the court now. He will be forced in the court, except that he will be commanded in that which is between him and between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He'll be commanded to spend on his animals, right? لأنه عليه السلام نهى عن تعذيب الحيوان وفي ذلك, because Nabi Karim prohibited from punishing the animals, and in it is death. In other words, in not spending on them, you are punishing them. Not giving them food, you are punishing them. وَنَهَى عَنْ إِضَاعَةِ الْمَالِ وَفِيهِ إِضَاعَتُهُ, and Nabi Karim prohibited from destroying your wealth, and in not spending on them, you are destroying your wealth. Right? وَنَبِي يُوسُفَ أنه يجبر. Now remember Abu Yusuf rahmatullahi, that he will be forced. The Qazi will force him. The Qazi will force him to spend on his animals. Well, أصح ما قلنا, and the more correct is what we have said. Wallahu a'lamu. Allah knows best. Kitabul Itaqi. You ready for Kitabul Itaq? We're coming now to the end of times. Might never know if slavery come back. When the wars happen and the slaves come back, right? Al-i'taqu tasarrufun mandubun ilayhi. Freeing your slave is a transaction which is recommended. You understand? Qala al-Islam, ayyuma muslimin a'taka mu'minan a'taka Allah bi kulli uzwin minhu minan nar. Because Nabi Akram said, whichever Muslims free a Muslim, then Allah Ta'ala frees with every lump from him a lump of his from the fire. You understand it? You free every lump. وَلِهَذَا إِسْتَحَبُّ أَن يُعْتِكَ الرَّجُلُ الْعَبْدَ وَالْمَرْأَةُ الْأَمَةَ. And for this reason, the ulama loves that a man should free a male slave so that the limbs can be the same. You understand it? And a woman should free a female slave. لِيَتَحَقَّقَ مُقَابَلَةُ الْأَعْزَاءِ بِالْأَعْزَاءِ so that the uh, the 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 lump coming in lieu of the other lumps of a lump can be realized. You understand? The lumps coming in lieu of the lumps can be realized. In other words, the exact lump for the exact lump. When a man frees the man, then the exact lump for the exact lump is happening. You understand it? Call al itku yasihu. Okay, leave it till